Hey everyone, welcome back to the garden. Sort of, we're inside again today. But today I want to talk to you a little bit about some new plant introductions that I have come across. As part of my employment at an independent local garden center, I get to take some classes over the winter. The garden center that I work for is closed after Christmas until weather permitting sometime in the beginning of March. So marketing companies and wholesale nurseries offer some classes. So this year I've taken a few, and one of the ones I took was an offering from Pride's Corner Farms, 3 sessions of new introductions of plants, perennials, trees and shrubs, and edibles. So some of the plants are not new. It just so happens that Pride's Corner Farms, who is a wholesale grower in Connecticut, started to offer this year, and some of them are actually new introductions from companies like First Editions and Proven Winners. So I'm not going to talk about every single one of them because that would be a really long video, but some of them I thought were standouts, so I want to talk to you about those in this video. And several of the ones that have been around the market for a while, I'm going to kind of consider those runner-ups because I have not seen these offered at my local garden centers, not just the one that I work at, but anywhere. And I do think they have some merit for some home gardens, since most of them are smaller, on the smaller side, and a lot of home gardens these days are smaller. So come garden with me today, and let's talk about some great new plant introductions. Probably going to break this video up into two. Today we'll do trees and shrubs, and the next time we'll do perennials and roses, because otherwise I think it'll get a little bit too long. And I'm not going to present these in any order other than the order in which they were presented. In other words, the first shrub I'm going to present to you today, not necessarily my favorite. I'm not going to go in that order. I'm just going to present them in the way that they were presented to us in the class that we took. So let's get started. So the first one that I thought was standout is the new Gen boxwood introduction, the Liberty Bell. Now, New Gen came out with Freedom and Independence a few years back. I have several of these in my garden, the Freedom, and I really like the way they grow. So this is the newest iteration from New Gen boxwood, and this is called the Liberty Bell. So this was new in 2024, but I don't think you were really readily able to find this in 2024. You should be able to find it more in 2025 in garden centers if this is a boxwood that you think would be a good fit for your garden, because it's more of a low growing spreading boxwood, and you can see the leaves are kind of small and glossy. It is moderately slow growing, 1 to 2 inches a year, part sun to shade. Has superior boxwood blight resistance as well as good leaf miner resistance, and it's deer resistant as well. The way it was described to us in the class was that this is the most boxwood blight resistant boxwood ever. So if you are in an area where boxwood blight has been an issue for you, you might want to consider trying the New Gen. It's a substitute for the Franklin's Gem boxwood, and again, it's a low growing, spreading boxwood, 1.5 feet tall by 3 feet wide. What else can we say here? Low spreading, billowing form, graced by glossy, deep green foliage, best performance in shade to part sun. And if you prefer, you can also grow these as a specimen or in a container. Small specimen, low hedge, foundation plant, edging. So that is the New Gen Liberty Bell boxwood. The next shrub going down the list is the Sergeant Pepper dogwood, the Cornus alba. This is a type of red twig dogwood. I believe this is a Siberian or a Tarshan dogwood, but you can see how pretty the foliage is. It's very, very similar to an ivory halo, but ivory halo is strictly green and white, almost like this, but the Sergeant Pepper has the pretty pink. I'm assuming this is the fall foliage look. And I chose this one because it's very hard to find variegated foliage. I really like variegated foliage. This one is slightly different than the ivory halo with the pink tinge. It's very similar to a tricolor beech. It's also a very large red twig dogwood, 6 feet tall by 8 feet wide. So keep that in mind. You're going to need some space for these. Part shade to sun. I just put up, I picked a Philadelphia zip code here just so you can see how much they're costing directly through the Proven Winners website. Let's go down here. So they're hardy in zone 3 through 7. So sorry, southern people, you're not going to be able to grow these. They are, again, variegated. They are upright, part shade to sun. They do like, this says average soil. Most red twig dogwoods want a little bit of additional moisture. And again, if you want the best color, if you're interested in these for the red twig dogwood bit, you are going to have to do some rejuvenation pruning on them. One other thing I wanted to mention about these, it was asked during the class if these are any less prone to powdery mildew than most red twig dogwoods, which are very prone, especially the ivory halo. No, these were not bred to be disease resistant. They're just bred for the tricolor foliage. I do have two ivory halo red twig dogwoods at the back of our upper rain garden berm. And by August, they are pretty covered in spot and powdery mildew. Now, it doesn't bother me because I don't see them from the house and I don't typically go up there that often. If this was something that you wanted to plant in front of house, I would keep that in mind if you are in more humid climates. Maybe if you live in a high desert like Eastern Oregon or maybe Colorado, you can avoid the black spot and the powdery mildew with this, but otherwise you're gonna suffer from some of those same diseases. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so the third one that I thought was worth mentioning, and I've already talked about this in one of my garden plans videos because I thought about using this in one of my new beds this year, is the First Edition's Flowerful Hydrangea. It's the Hydrangea arborescens or smooth hydrangea, like the Annabelle type hydrangea, similar to an Incredible from Proven Winners, although this one is supposed to have the strongest stems. Everybody loves the big white mop head flowers of the Annabelle, but they're very floppy. These ones have incredibly strong stems and resist flopping during heavy rains or wind. It's a little bit smaller than maybe an Annabelle at 3 to 4 feet high, 5 feet wide, hardy in zones 3 through 9. Because it is a little bit smaller, you might be able to fit it in where maybe you could not fit a traditional Annabelle hydrangea or an Incredible at 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. Again, they are incredibly strong. One thing that was mentioned about this, and I don't know if you're going to be able to tell so much in these pictures, maybe here a little bit, that the flowers on this are more dome shaped. Or maybe that has something to do with its strength, or it's less likely to flop because it doesn't have the big mop heads like the Incredible does. So this is what we think of when we think of Incredible hydrangea. Just big round balls of flowers. This is more of a dome shaped. So that's the flowerful. Hardy in zones 3 through 9. Strong stems, resist flopping in the landscape. So the next new introduction is also a proven winners variety called the Paisley Pup Dog Hobble or the Leucothwe. I am not typically a fan of this shrub, but I chose it because it is really pretty with its purple variegation, and it will go through different shades throughout the season. If we come over to this description here, it is described as the new growth emerges in shades of pink, white, green, and yellow for an ever-changing swirling display that really lights up shady spots. Again, this is an evergreen, it's deer resistant, and in the spring, like late spring, early summer, you can see here that it has little delicate, almost lily of the valley type flowers. So this is a really pretty one. Let's look at some more pictures. I really like the way that looks. I can see myself becoming a fan of this plant, especially because it's an evergreen and it's also shade tolerant. Very hard to find something like this in a shade tolerant variety. The flower season is spring, summer, fall, and winter. I mean, it's not flowering in the winter, but it is evergreen, 4 feet high, 5 feet wide. So again, shade tolerant, maybe not full shade, but at least part shade. Disease resistant, winter interest, attracts bees and butterflies. Again, native to North America, 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, upright habit. Blooms on old wood, just in case you want to prune it. Keep that in mind. You're not going to get flowers if you prune it at the wrong time. Hardy in zone 5 through 8. So that's a pretty good swathe of the country where you can grow this. Average soil, acidic soil. Again, Paisley Pup Dog Hobble. It's a really pretty new introduction by Proven Winners. So this is my runner-up for the shrub variety because this one is not new. I think it's been around for several years, but again, Pride's Corner is just starting to grow this one now. I gather because more people want um, tough plants based on native parentage. This is the Aquavita juniper. So this is a cultivar of the native eastern red cedar, which if you are on the east coast of the country of the United States, you know they grow native and they grow everywhere. They readily self-seed, and but they are a really tough plant, and people want that. They want low maintenance, tough native plants, but maybe not the straight species because the eastern red cedar can get very rangy with age. This one is going to stay a little bit more columnar and a lot less tall than the just straight native. So this one is going to be 12 to 15 high, 3 to 4 spread, although it is going to be a little bit more rangy, more native is what they're saying, not rangy. They're using the word native. So this is kind of like for those people who want a small columnar similar to a blue arrow juniper, which if you've watched any of my videos, you know I've planted a couple of those in the last few years. This is going to be a little bit more wide than those. So the blue arrow juniper is like a 1 to 2 foot wide. This is a 3 to 4. And again, it does not have that strictly neat, very almost like pencil shape that the blue arrow juniper has. But if you're looking for a blue juniper and you want a really tough plant that is deer resistant, tolerant of drought, salt, and poor soils, maybe the Aquavita is one that you should try to keep your eye out on. I know I'm going to be trying to find one of these for sure this coming season. Again, the Juniper Aquavita is cultivar of the Juniperus virginiana. So now we're going to move on to the tree section. And of the 5 or 6 trees that they discussed in this class, only one of them is truly a new introduction. But I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 others that I think are worth noting, especially for today's smaller landscapes. The new introduction is from Proven Winners again. They are really bringing their tree game lately, and it's called the Avalanche Birch. Now, this is a cultivar of the native river birch, but it's smaller, relatively speaking. It's still a large tree, but instead of 70 feet tall by 50, 60 feet wide, it's only 50 feet tall by 40 feet wide, 30 to 40. Again, this is going to be mostly a full sun plant. Everybody loves the peeling white bark of the river birch, and this has that. I think this even has this to a bit of a higher degree. It has beautiful yellow foliage in the fall. You can see what that's going to look like in the winter. Again, it's a smaller river birch, 50 by 40, hardy in zones 4 through 7. So this is not a tree that you're going to be able to plant in Florida or Texas. This is an average in the water category, although most river birches want consistent moisture. So if you go through a drought and this has been in your landscape for a few years, you're probably still going to need to provide it with some additional moisture. It does not need pruning. It is a smaller, mature size than your average birch, has handsome peeling barks, and it makes an excellent specimen. Again, hardy in zones 4 through 7. So still a pretty good swath of the nation can grow this plant, and it's going to be new in garden centers this year. So this is one in the runner-up category. This is the Little Volunteer Tulip Poplar. If anybody is familiar with the tulip poplar, it is a native tree to North America, but they're massive, absolutely massive trees. They can get up to 100 feet tall by 80 feet wide. We have one growing at the very back of our property. It's going to be exciting to see that grow, and they have absolutely gorgeous flowers. You can see these are pretty, I think these are more of a summer bloomer, late spring, early summer. And if you go on, if anyone is a hiker and you go through the forests, at least where I live in southeastern Pennsylvania, these trees are in bloom and in the late spring, early summer, and they're absolutely gorgeous. And the trails are kind of like covered with the petals as they fall from the tree. Really pretty, and they are fragrant. Again, this is not a new tree on the market. It's just that Pride's Corner will be offering them to independent garden centers this year. So you might be able to find one of these if you were in the market for a tulip poplar. It's a really pretty flowering tree. And again, it's only going to be 30 to 35 feet tall by 18 to 25 at 18 to 20 wide, which is a far cry from its native parentage. Like I said, an absolutely massive tree. So this would be great for mixed borders. It's a fast grower. It does have really pretty yellow foliage in the fall. And again, a great tree for smaller landscapes. One thing to note about the tulip poplar, it is the fastest growing tree in North America, but oftentimes when you have a tree that is so fast growing, you get weak wood. That is not the case with the tulip poplar, so that's not something that you need to worry about, that this tree is going to grow so fast that the wood is going to be weak and prone to breaking. Not a problem with the tulip poplar tree. The last tree that we're going to be talking about today is the Skinny Fit Ginkgo. Again, this is not a strictly new introduction, but I thought it was worth mentioning because it is extremely narrow for today's smaller landscapes, and it's not as tall as the traditional ginkgo. So it's going to be a 15 to 16 foot tall, 3 to 3.5 wide. So very easy to tuck one of these into your smaller landscape. You can even grow it in a container as they have shown here. And like most ginkgos, it is going to have the beautiful yellow foliage in the fall. Now, the leaves in the spring and summer are kind of like a blue-green, really pretty, very unique shape for a tree. It's hardy in zones 4 through 9. It will need full sun. Obviously, it is deciduous. Now, this plant does not fruit, so it's a male tree. Most ginkgos, the females are the one that produce the fruit, and they have a tendency to be really smelly. So that's why most of these landscape grade trees are going to be the male. And apparently, most ginkgo trees do not transplant very well. They go into shock very easily. Apparently, this one is much easier to transplant than traditional ginkgos. If for whatever reason you decide to purchase one of these and you decide to put it in one spot and need to move it, that's not going to be a problem. So again, this is the Skinny Fit Ginkgo. Really, really nice tree to tuck into small spaces. I love the way this looks, and I really love the color of the foliage in spring and summer. It's pretty in the fall too. I just really like the blue-green and the unique shape of the leaves. And this will be hardy in zones 4 through 9. So pretty good hardiness zone there. The Skinny Fit Ginkgo. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found some trees and shrubs that you'll be able to tuck into your landscape this season. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.